So when you are Liverpool and you play against the Manchester United and you are winning 5-0 and you have a Mo Salah, that means you are the best team in the world. And that's the tale of the sporting show today. It's still News Instances Sports. My name is still Adija Adebowale, running our show concurrently on a band radio scope on our YouTube channel at News Instances Sports, and of course on all our social media handles as well. And I have the gang with me today, although she ran away because United lost 5-0. Olayinka is too happy, so he's not going to be here today as well. But I got Ureku Kachi, and I have Lawali with me. Kachi, want to say hi to the fans at home?
Amazing weekend, listeners of weekend filled with top level games across the 5 major leagues in Europe. Everybody dropping points around AC Milan. Excited to be here today to discuss all this and more with you. Get ready for a great one.
All right, perfect. Olali.
Yeah, it's a weekend to forget for United fans around the world. A lot of record was broken today. Let's see how the team recover. Let's see how the owners react.
All right, perfect. Don't forget that Olawale ran away last weekend as well when they were defeated 4-2 against Leicester City. Bad one for Manchester United fans, if you ask me. And of course, we'll start with other sports. And where do we start from? We're going to start from the Joker man, Novak Djokovic. He came out to say that he might not play in the Australian Open next year because he's not convinced about taking the vaccine. And the question that begs to be answered is the fact that without Novak, it's going to be economic. It will have a huge economical impact on the Australian Open. For fact, Novak himself might not break the record that he's so much looking forward to breaking. And of course, it's an individual sport. Should athletes be sanctioned for not taking the vaccine? I'm going to start with you, Kachi. I'm going to start with you, Kachi, on the fact that should individual sports get sanctioned for not taking the vaccine? And Olawale, I want you to answer the economical part of it. So I want to start with you, Kachi.
All right, thanks, Debo. I think the key here is the fact that it is an individual sport. And I personally feel that players are not contractually obligated to participate in tournaments, right? So based on that primary argument, I don't think the ATP has the right or should be considering penalizing players for opting out of tournaments. We've seen players opt out. A good argument would be even when players show up for this tournament, we've seen players abandon their matches because of a slight nig on their body, and this is an ongoing game, and they don't get penalized. Instead, the match is awarded to the opponent. In that same light, everybody is entitled to their opinion. I said this last week. I've said this countless times. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. And as long as your personal opinion does not endanger the sport and does not endanger a franchise, like we will get to the NBA and discuss further, I don't think anyone should really be bothered. The person who stands to lose the most is Joker himself, because he probably will not get the opportunity to break that record, the tie he has now with Roger Federer and also with Nadal. Let's not forget that the US Open, excuse me, the US Open holds in New York, and you need to be vaccinated to participate, to even go outside of the indoors in New York. In England, you need to show a vaccination passport or proof of vaccination before you can even be allowed to travel in, which is the same thing as Australia. I'm not too sure. I think the French are a little bit cavalier, but the clay has never been his strongest suit. So even if he only gets to play in the French Open, it is not a guarantee for him. But to come back to your question, it's an individual sport. Based on that, if he chooses to opt out, it's more his loss than the ATP. Yes, the fans would love to see him But the truth is, if other players and other upcoming players, which we think to have a lot of them right now, show up, it will still make for an interesting Australian Open.
All right, perfect. Lale, and is it going to be a major economical impact on the Australian Open organizers?
I don't think so. I think most of the sponsorship deal are already locked in, and I don't think any one of them is tied to any of these players opting out or opting in. Yes, and considering how sensitive the issue of COVID-19 is, I don't think there's any major sponsor that might want to even pull out or probably have to review their listing because Novak is not going to be. Of course, it's going to affect some bit of probably viewership. It might probably go down a bit. But like Kachi said, if other players showed up, and thankfully, I think the good thing was he lost the Australia, what do you call the US Open final to, what's the name of the, is it the Russian guy? Yeah, I think at least we have another person probably to focus on. So viewership, yes, but all-round sponsorship, I don't think there will be that huge loss for the organizers.
All right, perfect. Olale, I'm gonna stay with you now. So Shaq O'Neal came out in the middle of the week and says if LeBron breaks the record of King Abdul-Jabbar, no doubt about it that LeBron is going to be unarguably the best player of all time in the history of basketball. Do you agree with Shaq O'Neal?
I think the question we should ask Shaq is this: why? Like most of these things are actually subjective. That's Shaq's opinion. But the question you should ask him is: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with that record, why is he not regarded as the best player to ever play the game? With that record,
I can answer for Shaq.
Wait, now let me finish. Couple of championship titles. I think he won the championship in Milwaukee before joining the Lakers. And even when he was with the Lakers, you can argue that they have James Worthy, they have Magic Johnson, but it was the veteran in that team. He, at least for their first two championships in California, in LA, it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's team. So whichever way, I think it's subjective. I think for you, the people, let me just finish. I think for the people that believe LeBron is the best player now, they'll probably add that one to parts of what they are using to
the argument.
For those people who don't believe that LeBron is not the best player of all time, I don't think LeBron breaking that record will probably change their mind. Them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will make much difference. It should just be another achievement.
Okay, all right. Kachi, what about you? Do you think it's going to make a difference? And my second question to you, Kachi, is that closely following the trail of LeBron is Kevin Durant. So does that mean once Kevin breaks that record, Kevin becomes the best player of all time automatically?
I actually echo Wale's sentiment here that it will just be another feather to LeBron's cap and a nice record to have. LeBron currently will probably end his career as the second best player in the world. I think, and this is also subject, this is my opinion and subject to interpretation and can be argued both ways. I think that in addition to that record, LeBron probably needs one more championship to now really enter that stratosphere with Michael Jordan. Right now, I think Michael Jordan is just a slight level above LeBron, but he is above LeBron. Getting that would not make him the greatest. And then to answer your question, which obviously I think I've answered, because I don't think a scoring record should determine who is the greatest. Even if Kevin Durant breaks it, or even if Steph Curry at some point at the rate he's shooting threes comes to break it, it still won't make them the greatest. I mean, what makes Michael Jordan arguably the greatest basketball player ever is the fact that he was so laser focused and was not distracted by things happening around him. LeBron is pretty much has shown that he has a very soft underbelly. We saw how he caved in under pressure, even as the favorite team in 2011, losing to the Dallas Mavericks. We saw how he meddles.
I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Kachi, I agree with you. I think that 2011 loss to Dallas Mavericks
Is the biggest argument
is the biggest argument against LeBron, because a lot of people believe Dwayne Wade did his part, that LeBron was the one that failed to show up.
Okay,
and they were the favorites.
All right, perfect. Kachi, you're done, right? But I'm gonna stay with you, Kachi.
Yes.
At the start of the season, like the preseason, I expressed my fears about the Lakers team. And people brought out differing opinion that the Lakers, once they lose all their preseason, they come banging during the season. And I know we discussed this behind closed doors and said they will still make the playoffs. But it looks to me, I know they ask what crisis, but crisis does not start in a day. For me, there's something amiss in the LA Lakers. And Magic Johnson came out to say that in the history of the franchise, he had never seen two players fighting the way AD and Dwight Howard actually fought. And it begs the question, are we noticing cracks? Are we noticing things not being in place technically in terms of human relationship and all for the Lakers? I want you to speak to that.
Okay, thanks. It's too early, in my opinion, to say there are cracks in the team, but you are right that there is definitely something missing in the current Lakers structure and how they are constructed. They are not lacking for talent. They are not lacking for experience. Right now, what they are missing is humility. Every single person in that Lakers team right now is an alpha. Dwight Howard is an alpha. Russell Westbrook is an alpha, and they need to learn humility. It was easy for all these guys to play together when they were representing an entire country bigger than them, like the US, and I'm talking of them playing in the Olympics. But now it's just a city. Every single person there probably believes they should be leading a franchise, not necessarily the Lakers. And in this case, they think they should be the number 2 to LeBron. Not necessarily the number 3. I think they still need about 13 to 15 more games to mesh. Then we can start to talk about whether this issue that happened against the Suns has penetrated the entire dressing room. I don't think it has. I think it's just their passion for the game that came out on that day, especially because they lost to this Suns team. The Suns team ended their playoff run last year. I expect them to still make the playoffs. I don't expect them to be the top seed. I said this last week, and I'm saying it again. They will make the playoffs. If after 15, 20 games, we start to see them gel and everybody knows and understands their role, then it bodes well for them. But right now, I think they are lacking humility. Their ego is louder than their talent.
All right, perfect. Alali, understanding their role. I saw the games over the weekend, and it was Westbrook, most especially, looks like he doesn't understand his roles, and it's trying to do all this, attack the paint, do all these things, but it does not come out well. It does not come out right. You know, it's no longer younger. All those moves that he plans with Rondo is not coming off. You know, how soon do you think they're going to get their acts together? Especially now that Kyrie is trying to give the ring to LeBron yet again.
Yeah, just like Kachi said, you have to give them up to like 15 to 20 games before you can probably make a judgment about the team. But of course, right from when those trades were made, I think most analysts believe this is not a natural fit. It's not a natural fit because Russell Westbrook is a terrible three-point shooter. And when you play with LeBron, who probably by role is a small forward, but is more of a point forward, he dominates the ball a lot. I think the best point guard, I think the point guard that are probably fitted with LeBron the most, as much as I might not like it, remains Kyrie Irving. because Kyrie can focus on his scoring. With little time he has on the ball, he can probably do his own thing. But for what do you call it, Russell Westbrook, it's going to be one thing you could probably notice in their first two games is spacing problem. This could probably work in the NBA if you are talking about in the 90s when emphasis is not really laid about perimeter shooting.
Yeah.
But with the way the NBA is structured today, they are going to struggle. It's going to be a lot of, because no matter how they figure out their roles eventually, I just don't think they have. If LeBron James is your best shooter in a team, it's a big problem. And another thing I think that's a bit concerning in the first two games is Anthony Davis' free throw shooting. His free throw shooting percentage is actually bad within. Yeah, it's actually bad within the first two games. And we know Anthony Davis is actually very good when it comes to free throw shooting. I don't want to be alarmed about this, but it is something that they need to really need to check. If it persists, it could be a very big problem to them, because we know LeBron James is an average free throw shooter, above average free throw shooter too. Yeah. So there are a lot of couples of issues within that team that need to be resolved. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Age is one thing, and age is another thing that I think might probably affect them when they get into the playoff. But like Kachi said, let's give them like 16 matches before we can probably make a judgment about it.
Before we say they're in a crisis like your darling Manchester United. Okay, all right, perfect. Yes. Olale, I'm gonna stay with you. Just an overview. It's early days, but it's always nice to have a prediction. So that's what makes the difference between you and those people that watch beside the streets. Eastern Conference. How do you think it's gonna finish up? Your prediction?
Yeah, early days, we've seen like all the teams playing like 2 to 3 games. Milwaukee looks like a team that has Brooklyn Nets, numbers. They bullied them a lot in the first game. There are stretches in that game that Brooklyn doesn't look like a team that might probably contest for the championship, or probably that might be due to some adjustment they are trying to make. I think from the squad of last season, probably KD, so far so good, excluding Kyrie, probably KD, James Harden, and probably what's the name of this white guy that shoots a lot?
Griffin?
No, not Blake Griffin. But I think they've turned over a lot of players. That's just what I'm trying to. So again, if you watch even the game they won against Philly, they were very lucky because they started slowly, just like they did against Brooklyn. It took a bad game management from Doc Rivers and the terrible shooting towards the end of the game by Danny Green for the Brooklyn Nets to win the game. But they should be very happy with what they saw about LaMarcus Aldridge towards the end of the game. He actually kept Joel Embiid at bay. Milwaukee looks like Milwaukee. Expect them to be more confident. When you win championship like this, what it does for you is it makes you to be a bit more confident going to the next season. But again, we saw how they lost terribly to Miami, and we saw Miami to lose out. So it's a bit very early. But if you put me on the spot to still make a call as we are today, I'll still think it should be Brooklyn Nets. All teams being equal, all teams being LD, I still think the Brooklyn Nets will be too much to handle for the other part of the Eastern Conference. All right, especially with Ben Simmons not likely to return to the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right, perfect. Kachi, attack the Western Conference for us.
The Western Conference has always been adjudged to be the stronger conference between the two. You can argue that any of the 8 teams or any of the 16 teams rather in the Western Conference has the possibility of making the playoffs. We've seen marked improvements, across the board, but it still looks like this West wants to go through Utah again. The Utah Jazz seem to have picked up from where they left off. And I think it's a mirror of what is happening in Milwaukee. The players clearly understand their role. They know that it's Donovan Mitchell that runs this team. Rudy Gobert knows that, okay, I may not get all the points, but I will get you stops. And it seems to be working for them. I think the Denver Nuggets will always be the Denver Nuggets. They have the current MVP playing in their ranks, and they will make the playoffs. But we've not seen the Clippers and the Lakers, basically the teams in the biggest basketball market right now, currently struggling. They're both at 0%. They've not recorded any wins. But I still expect that once things start to ramp up and then we get to the business end, it should probably still go through Utah. You expect the usual suspects: Utah, Phoenix, Lakers, Clippers, the Nuggets, and possibly. Okay, let me not even say possibly. I know the Dallas Mavericks will make it, but like Wale said, what can tilt the favorites this year will ultimately be where Ben Simmons lands. Ben Simmons should land in any of the major contenders, East or West. It's a major power shift, especially if he goes in, swallows his pride, accepts his role as a non-shooting point guard, and does it very well. Okay. But I expect the West to go through Utah. They just, for some reason, always fly on that.
But you know that. Kachi, you know that's not going to happen. Anyways, I'm gonna go straight.
Why do you say so?
It's going to be a Ben Simmons, I just want to ask Kachi and he's not going to accept his role, and it's it's going to end. You know the story.
Kachi, you know the story. Kachi, I think this might not be possible. I'm just dreaming. It's just a fantasy. What if Brooklyn and Philadelphia? What if they do
a swap?
They trade. They swap.
If they swap Harden for Simmons?
No. I'm not talking of Harden. I'm talking of Kyrie and Vaccine. It might not be possible.
Then everybody has to go through Brooklyn. Everybody, the entire NBA will go through Brooklyn. Right now, even with a faulty and a flawed Kyrie, the Brooklyn Nets seems like the best team on paper in the NBA. Yes, they may have their kryptonite in Milwaukee, but they are still like the best team in the NBA. Now,
Ben Simmons will make them impossible to play against.
Yeah, exactly.
It will make with a Ben Simmons in the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay, guys, don't let's waste time on that. Just to a more critical, or should I say, a more crazy topic going around. It is NBA 50 years anniversary, choosing their 75th anniversary, choosing their 75 best player of all time, dead or alive. And we can't agree with it. The first person I checked when I saw the list was Allen Iverson. I was like, okay, is Allen going to be there? And I saw it, and I was like, okay, fine. And I was checking, and I saw AD. I'm like, AD? Oh, wow. AD who? And okay. And I was checking, I was looking for I saw Steve Curry. I was looking for Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson. I'm like, okay. I say Lillard, Damian. I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? And I was looking for Kyrie. No Kyrie there. And I'm like, okay, what exactly is happening here? I'm not expecting an AD, not a Lillard there as well. Of course, I wouldn't argue so much about most of the players, but these two threw me out back, given that I did not see Klay Thompson there. Your Bruce more for you, Kachi, was Dwight Howard. I don't really care about Dwight Howard. Mine is Klay Thompson. It looks like we are failing to give respect to top quality players simply because they cannot stay fit in the recent years, which for me does not make sense. If Klay Thompson are kept fit in one of the last 2 years, just one of the last 2 years, it's definitely going to be there. But it looks like we're forgetting it. I'm going to start with you, Olali. Who do you think should not be on that list? And who do you think should have been on the list that wasn't on the list?
Now, Debo, I think I think one thing when the NBA was trying to do this, they had to probably they have a committee like comprising of a lot of guys from the media who have been with it in the sports. I think one of the things they did was to preserve the original 50. Which makes things a bit more difficult, because there are some argument that there are some people in the original 50 that by the time we extend the NBA to what it is today, they might probably not even be the best 100 players. But because they want to preserve the original 50, it makes it very difficult. So between between 1996 now and now, you have to just choose 25 players. You know, by the time you choose Kobe Bryant, you choose LeBron James,
Kevin Durant,
Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson. At least those. By the time you start with those guys, what do you call the space is shrinking. So of course, it's human beings that did this thing. It will always be subjective. I don't think there is any. I think the main criteria in most time is longevity and what do you call it? Championship.
I can't hear you very well, Ali.
I said I think the main criteria is going to be longevity and probably championship. But I think the biggest knob, I agree with Kachi. I think it has to be, what do you call it? Dwight Howard. Yeah, it's the biggest knob because this is a guy that led a small market, Orlando Magic, to NBA Finals 2009. Not to the finals alone, beating a LeBron James led Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals. So three times Defensive Player of the Year. It was I think it was voted among the top 3 in MVP for like 3 or 4 years that he couldn't win. If you look at his body, if you look at his body of work in his first 8 years, if Dwight Howard has retired after his Houston days, I don't think I think Dwight Howard missing that is more about the perception, the way the media perceived him, and I think the number of teams he played for after leaving Houston. And another notable mention, I think, is Bernard King. Then probably Klay Thompson should be there. If you ask me people that I think are subjectively on that list, there are millionaires I don't think have any business to do on that list. Anthony Davis shouldn't be there. As good as Ray Allen is, if you are putting Ray Allen, then why not Klay Thompson? Because I won't really understand that. So the list is not perfect, not really bad, but I think it has some little flaw.
Some little flaws,
Yeah, and there is no way in this world Dwight Howard should not be on that list.
All right, Kachi, who do you think should be there that wasn't there, and who should not be there that was there?
We had this discussion during our production call. I still agree, and I echo this all the time. For me, the biggest snub still will probably remain Dwight as well. Okay. Because I mean, he should be a straight swap for AD. AD definitely should not be there. You can argue the case for Damian Lillard, and I was trying to argue Damian's case off air, saying that he was really consistent and brought a very small Portland market, to the NBA consciousness. So I guess that is just a gratitude for raising the stakes in Portland. But you can also argue that Damian should not be there. Also, you start to ask yourself, who else do I really want to take out apart from
those two
that I've mentioned? I mean, every other person, you want to look at them. I didn't watch a lot of them play. I probably just saw highlights of many of these people. But these are people that every single person there are sure Hall of Famers. They deserve it. But to echo Wale's point, it is very subjective. Most people missing this list missed it because they are deemed bad boys or non-friends of the media, NBA media, not necessarily because of what they do.
Because of their battling ability.
Dwight is Superman, 8 times All-Star, 3 times first team All-NBA, 3 times Defensive Player of the Year. If AD gets a career like Dwight, he's a shoe-in as a Hall of Fame. I don't think AD is a Hall of Famer yet. He hasn't done enough to even get into the Hall of Fame, not to talk of being one of the top 75 players. Damian, you can argue with. I think it was just a reward for consistency, not necessarily because of what he has done on the field, except you want to call his dagger over Paul George in the playoff at the Game Time logo, as one of the highlights or hallmarks of the NBA. But beyond that, I definitely think the biggest snub was I don't even think Klay Thompson is much of a snub as much as I feel strongly about
Dwight
Howard,
Howard.
Dwight should be top 60, top 50. If you even want to argue it, Dwight Howard should be top 50, not even top 60.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. We're going on a short break right now. When we come back, we'll be doing a review of the Champions League before we jump to the league across the world, starting with the United loss against Liverpool.
To the point.
All right, perfect. So we jump straight to the Champions League and we'll do a quick review of the Champions League games that we had over the course of the week. City defeated Club Brugge 5-1. You would say it's a perfect victory, Olali. You agree with me, right? That was what we expected.
Yeah, of course, it's a perfect victory.
All right.
That was what we expected. City does what they do against smaller teams like they take them to the cleaners.
All right, perfect. Kachi, Australia one that we did not predict. I'm pretty sure I was wrong about this one. Sporting Lisbon battles Betis Stars. I said Sporting we're going to lose because we're going to Turkey, but they won 4-1. How surprised were you?
Pretty surprised. We would not expect this to be such a high-scoring game. I thought the Besiktas would take advantage of this and get their first win. But kudos to Sporting for making a game out of it. It's Sporting's win is more of Sporting's win than it is Besiktas' loss. And they will stand to regret that particular home.
All right, perfect. Kachi, I'm going to stay with you. PSG versus RB Leipzig. PSG lucky to win again. Individual brilliance again, not a team effort, if you ask me.
Absolutely. We've always called out Mauricio Pochettino that he is in the spotlight, and it doesn't seem he's able to lead a team as talented and filled with ego as PSG. He selected that team not based on tactics or based on their strength, but like you said, based on their individual abilities. They almost lost it. Thank God that the young man, and I'm trying to remember his name, Mbappe decided to square the ball to Messi for the equalizer. And Messi will never miss from the spot to get them the winning goal. But yeah, 3 points is what counts right now.
All right, perfect. And don't forget that Messi has directly given 24 penalties to his teammates since the start of his career when he was actually on an hat-trick. Yeah, when he was actually on an hat-trick. And Mbappe missed the one against RB Leipzig anyways. And to more analyzing one, Liverpool defeated Atletico Madrid 3-2. Griezmann a brace, then a red card. Salah unplayable. Lali.
Fantastic game of football. You have to give a lot of respect to Atletico Madrid. I think they were very unfortunate to lose the game. They were 2-0 down earlier on in the game. They came back. They fought their way back at 2-2. I think the red card, probably yes, it was a red card, but I think that's actually gave Liverpool the edge. And I think they had the penalty that they were denied.
They were denied.
I just think the least they deserve from that game should have been a draw.
All right, perfect. Still staying with you, Olali. Porto defeated Milan 1-0. Milan just don't seem to get their acts together. Inexperience or what's playing the part against Milan?
Yeah, just unfortunate for them. I think they lost control of their their Champions League in the second game against against Atletico Madrid. It was a tough loss for them in Milan in Portugal. At this stage, I just think they should. I'm not even sure they can make it to the Europa League. They have the host Liverpool at home. They will need to win their last 3 games and hoping that results in other places go their way for them to go through. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I just think
it's the end of the road.
It's the end of the road. Yes.
Like boys to men. Kachi, sorry about that. And to the surprise one, Ajax defeated Dortmund 4-0. Emphatically. That was emphatic. Alan, Jude Bellingham, everybody went missing.
This was definitely the surprise surprise result of the match day 3. We expected this to be a high scoring game. We thought it was prime, 2 teams that favor youth over age. We expected it to filled with fireworks. It was filled with fireworks, but only one team
Only one
was
side.
shooting all that fireworks. Ajax were convincing winners. Dortmund were nowhere to be seen on the night. 4-0 was actually not even a true reflection of how
Of
much
what
Ajax
happened.
was playing that game. Dortmund should be lucky their names were not spelt, like we say in Nigeria.
All right, perfect. Kashi, staying with you, Inter Milan defeated Sheriff. Break of the how do you call it, the median dream was broken there, but to Shakhtar versus Real Madrid went to Ukraine, won 5-0, and we saw the tale of Vinicius Junior. Brilliant 1 minute and very, very frustrating the other.
I will stick to the Inter game. I previewed this game and I said the unknown quantity that Sheriff was enjoying will be broken by Inter Milan. I was proved right. They gave a good account of themselves without a doubt. But I think right now, whatever it was that made them unknown has been broken. They enjoyed their last week. They will end that group with only 6 points. I think really good win for Inter. They needed it. If there's any Milan team that will probably make the next round, most likely right now will be Inter Milan.
Inter Milan. All right, perfect. Alali, Barcelona back from the dead, eventually winning 1-0 courtesy of Gerard Piqué against Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah, it was a good win for them, but apart from the win, it wasn't a convincing performance. And against despite the fact they are playing at home, and despite the fact they were coming from, I think they had a very positive result the previous weekend against Valencia. But apart from the victory, it was just not a convincing. It's just look at a team that doesn't still have an identity of what they want to do. Good one for them. I think for them to start any chance of qualifying from this group, the good thing is Bayern dismantled Benfica in Portugal. So for them to have any reasonable chance of qualifying for the next round, they have to win in Kiev.
All right, perfect. And of course, Salzburg defeated Wolves 3-1. Like I predicted, I said I didn't know who was going to score, and indeed, Salzburg, they just know how to churn out all these unknown names, and you're like, oh, where's this guy from? Where's Mane from? Oh, wow, that's wonderful. Where's Mo Salah? Don't forget Mo Salah came for that team. And of course, Benfica lost against Bayern, even though they were trying to be heroic. They lost 4-0. Sergei Gnabry on the rampage. Lirosane, and of course, who else? Lewandowski. Manchester United 3-2 they won against Atlanta, and everybody said don't play like this in the first. The way United played in the first half was so disjointed. Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes were so far away from Fred and McTominay in the middle of the park, and there was no creativity up until the second half, where things change. And of course, who is going to score that goal for them apart from Cristiano Ronaldo saving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job so he saved his job in the course of the week, not so much over the weekend anyways. 3-2 he ended in favor of United against Atlanta. And of course, Young Boys lost at home against Villarreal 4-1. Lyon and Sevilla ended 0-0, while Juventus pulled up a Bernardeschi off a Bernardeschi goal, 1 away to Zenit. So I think being in Eastern Europe these days does not save you from a defeat again. And of course, Chelsea, as expected, won against Malmo 4-0. But just before we go to the league across the world, Kachi, scores came out to say we can't be like this. Ferdinand said this is a good one, but we've actually taken 2 steps back from where we are before now. And overall, your thought on this? Even if United should qualify for the next round, they have Ronaldo, so that's an X factor for them anyways. But it looks like giving a Keke Napep rider a Ferrari to drive. He does not even have the license. That's what it looks like.
It shows you why Paul Scholes was regarded as one of the best outfield players United had ever produced. He interprets the game, and the way he also analyzed that game, that win against Atalanta, it shows you how cerebral he is. He knew, he said it clearly, that if it was a much better team, they would have lost by a wider margin. And we saw that happen. Ole definitely is way above his head. He's sinking rather than swimming right now. I was having a real-time discussion with some Man U fans who were very, very disappointed about the result over the weekend. And they said right now they don't mind, even though they know he doesn't like to stay for long, but they don't mind an Antonio Conte coming in and just stemming the bleeding. Man U is bleeding and bleeding fast, especially in the league. We thought it was going to be a 4-horse race in the English Premier League. It turned out we were wrong. It's a 3-horse race, and that's because the fourth horse never even took off. Yeah. Three rounds into the league, Man U had 9 points. Arsenal had 0 points. After 7 or 9 games now, I think they are tied on the same number.
Yeah, same points, 14 points each.
It says how bad Ole is at the wheel.
All right, perfect. And Ole has broken the wheel already. So from there, we'll just jump straight to England, and we'll start with a bit of surprise. If you ask me. Arsenal versus Aston Villa. Arsenal were at home, definitely. But we saw them at home against Crystal Palace. We saw what they did against Crystal Palace. How lame they were in the first half. And the second half, they were lucky to earn a draw. And of course, we saw them proud to that as well against Brighton. I know they were blunt, so to speak. But a different Arsenal came out against Aston Villa, all gone blazing. The first half, they were lucky to get that penalty. I wouldn't have avoided that penalty anyways for Arsenal, but they were lucky. Aubameyang actually missed the penalty, scored off the rebound, and Arsenal at the end of the day won 3-1. Olale, what is most exciting for me, or what I think of the whole thing is, and I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again, apologies to Arteta. I don't think he's good enough anyways, but apologies to Arteta and especially to Edu for what they are trying to achieve at Arsenal. Aaron Ramsey, before he came to Arsenal, everybody criticized him, including myself. And it was an unfair criticism. The guy actually has changed the way Arsenal plays, because it looks like the last defender. He plays more like a Manuel Neuer. Plays, not keep. Plays. That's the word I'm using right now. Like a Manuel Neuer. And he sets the tone for Arsenal in different ways. How do you think, or what should we expect going forward? These guys are a bunch of 22, 23 years old that are prone to errors right now, but they're in a developmental stage. How good do you think this team will turn out to be in the long run? Alright, I can't hear you. I believe you're muted. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, too early to call. I think after those early difficult fixtures, I think the fixtures have been a bit favorable to Arsenal, and that is why I think they'll be able to record 4 wins in the last probably 6 games. This last game against Aston Villa looks similar to what they played at the beginning of the week against Crystal Palace. They started very well. They got the first goal. But I think the difference between the 2 games was the second goal. Well, like you said, that they were lucky to get the penalty, which probably gave them a bit of relief. I think what they will need to work on as a team will be the ability to kill off game as early as possible. It's very crucial. It's something that we can't overemphasize emphasize it in games. The longer the game stands at 1-0, the more vulnerable you become at losing your lead. So fantastic win for them, but for me, I think we still need to wait. Leicester awaits them next week away at King Power. It's going to be very difficult. We don't know the status of Jimmy Vardy as of today, but I think that game will be a big test for Arsenal.
Yes.
Yeah. From there, can now start making some bits of what do you call it, permutations about what we think they could probably eventually do at the end of the season.
I'm not even talking about it at the end of the season. I don't think they will make the Champions League. They will be lucky to make the Europa League.
Champions League, the first spot is there for the taking.
Given what Leicester City and Spurs are doing, they might go for Europa League. But
the fourth position is there for the taking.
Fourth position, United is still going to. They are going to sack Willie. Willie is going to come good. And of course, Kachi, I'm going to come to you now. Chelsea were on rampage, 7-0 against the worst team in the league, if you ask me. The early favorite for relegation, but that does not take anything away from Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell now plays as a cerebral midfielder, as against a wing back. He knows how to draw out defenders through himself, give Callum Odiol the chance to actually do one or two things on his own. And of course, the wing backs of Chelsea looks more menacing even than the attackers, if you ask me. A good one against a bad team. Your overall thought on the match?
That's a good one against a bad team, but you can only beat the team put in front of you. I mean, you're not going to say Chelsea should not turn up and play because they are playing a team who has only picked up 2 points from a possible 9 and have only scored 2 goals this season. Let's not forget that Chelsea were missing Timo Werner and Romelu Lukaku, who both got injured playing against FC Malmo midweek. But kudos to Thomas Tuchel for identifying that he needed to have a good depth of players and bringing in the right set of players to execute that game. Also, more kudos to Ben Chilwell, like you said. This is someone who said he went into a very dark phase after not being used by Gareth Southgate at all. He did not play a single minute during the last European Championship, and he doubted himself. But he's been able to mentally come back, and he's coming back stronger. 7 unreplied goals. Mason Mount scored his first hat trick for the club. You know, almost everybody got on the scoring act. And the commentator said one thing during the game over the weekend. As at the time, was it Reece that scored or Doy? I can't remember who. He said every single player, every 10 outfield player on that day had all scored at least 1 goal this season. Wow. You know, that's one thing that Man U is missing. Man City also is missing goals from everywhere. Thomas Tuchel can rely on that. And at the business end of the season, you know that I can get a goal from Christensen, I can get a goal from Silva, I can get a goal from Aspilicueta, Ben Chilwell, or anybody. So even if Timo Werner is misfiring, he still cannot really worry that he can go to bed that he has a very good team. It's going to be a great finish to the end of this season. To the end of the season.
And don't forget that Rudiger actually got the assist. One of the assists for
Rudiger is a prancing horse.
Exactly.
He's a prancing horse.
For Mason Mount's penalty, which I feel the referee was just being ridiculous. There were 5.
He liked the number. He liked 7. He liked 7.
Okay. That's so unfair. And of course, Crystal Palace, thanks to Callum Wilson, drew against thanks to Callum Wilson.
That's the most unluckiest team in the Premier League.
Sorry?
That's the most unluckiest team in the Premier League now, Crystal Palace. They've had like 4 games that they should have won. That have ended in draws. They've ended in draws. I think Leicester City, there was a game before Leicester City that they were right. Okay, I think Brighton, Leicester City, they should have won against Arsenal. And now this.
Last kick of the game against Arsenal, it's so unlucky. But to the surprise game of the weekend, if you ask me, and that has to be Watford against Everton. Everton they were off audit and they were running ahead as if they were going to run riots, like we've seen them all season. And of course, Watford came back. Joshua King was at Everton last season under the tutelage of Carlos Ancelotti without a goal. Close to 0 appearances, if you ask me, because those camera appearances, I would not call them appearances. And suddenly he's bad at Gossip Park and scores a trick. And of course, Dennis also getting on the scorer chart. 5-2 ended in favor of Watford. Olale, do you think Watford have actually turned a point from this point onward? Because this is a blessed one for them, if you ask me.
I think it was an improvement from what they had last week. Last week was a terrible showing for them. They didn't show up at all.
Yeah.
They laid themselves down for Liverpool to just come and slaughter. This week,
your team did it as well. Your team is an ensemble of million
we'll get there.
We'll
get there. There are two different things. It was the same score line, but two different things. Now, fantastic result for them. But whether they've probably figure it out, I can't really say, because this is one of those things that happens in football that at times goes beyond tactics. Everton just lost it. How they lost it, they don't know. I'm sure Watford just find themselves getting those goals, because as at 81 minutes, I think 79, 80 minutes, it was Everton leading by 2-1. And they were just all over the place when it comes to defending. Guys making mistakes, people getting into each other's way, and these guys were just clinical. Good result for them. Next week, I think Southampton awaits them. Let's see what happened at home to Southampton. Another win. Right now, I think they are a bit above relegation zone.
Yeah.
Another win will keep them far away from there, and then we can probably start saying that
if they have taken a turn or not.
They figure it out.
All right, perfect. Rodrigo came to the head of Leeds United as a Jew 1-1 against Wolverhampton Wanderers that got the early lead 2-1. And of course, Southampton against Burnley ended 2-2. The new boy Laveneto scoring for Southampton. Don't forget that boy. He plays as a right back. And I try to think of it. Kyle Walker, not of Man City right now, or Southampton, was great last season. And suddenly, this new boy, this 17 or 18-year-old boy, or this teenager, or whatever he is, came in and has made that place his own, statutorily, if you ask me. And now he's getting on the scorer sheet. Look out for that boy in the immediate future. And of course, Manchester City defeated. Help me, guys. I don't know who Manchester City defeated.
Brighton over Albion.
Brighton. Okay. They defeated them 4-1, if I'm not mistaken.
4-1, yes.
4-1. Phil Foden scoring 2 goals and giving an assist to Riyad Mahrez as well, as they defeated them comprehensively. And the question was asked of Mr. Pep Guardiola. That's now that I think you've gotten each other with Phil Foden. Do you think you don't need a striker again? And he said, no, don't ask me that question, because next week when I lose, or a couple of weeks when I lose without a striker, they're going to turn around to taunt me, which I feel.
But on that game,
yeah,
I don't know whether you know. Kudos to Brighton. Despite going behind, I think 3-0 in the first half.
They came back. The first half was so terrible.
They were very, very positive in the second half.
Yeah.
In the second half, they disrupted Man City reading, and Man City couldn't just get close to them at all. I think you have to give a lot of kudos to Graham Potter. He has actually transferred that team. They don't look like a team that will be battling with relegation again. They look like a team that will be comfortably sitting around that 8 or 9 position now.
9 position going forward. Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And of course, Brentford were unlucky to lose against Wales.
Leicester City. Welcome to the Premier League.
Welcome to the Premier League. I'm hoping someone is going to give them a bloodbath after they bloated Arsenal's nose at the start of the season, anyways. And of course, West Ham defeated Spurs. That's the highlight of my weekend. I love this even more than the Arsenal win against Aston Villa. Aaron Craswell with the assist for Mikel Antonio. Good combination. Kachi, I'm going to ask you one question. Aaron has not played for England in the last 4 years. Do you think his talent is way beyond
Who?
what you
Who?
overlook?
I didn't get that. Who?
Aaron Cresswell.
Aaron Criswell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think his talent is well over and above being overlooked for this long? He has been consistent, getting the assists,
The truth
doing pretty well.
is that the English team has a plethora of talents right now, almost in every position except for the attacking position, the number 9 position. I think they are blessed with very good players in the middle of the park, the wing backs as well. I think they also find out on the evidence of what's been happening that they may need. I guess they may need somebody to start looking. They may need a replacement for a Harry Maguire. For Cresswell, I think he's just unfortunate to be playing in an era when where the British team has a really, really good set of players playing in his position.
In the position.
If it was in the 90s or in the 94 era, yes, he definitely would have easily made that team. But right now, except he's going to change role. Look at, I just talked about a Ben Chilwell not playing a single minute, but yet in the Euros, but he's churning out performances such as this.
For Chelsea,
I don't think he's not a decent player. I just think he's probably not very good for the team.
All right, perfect.
Please, please, before you go, thanks for asking this question. I've been having this conversation over, let me say, a year plus with someone. Let me tell you this: it's not because of whatever. Aaron Criswell is, when it comes to production, is a far better player than Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw. Ben Chilwell is better than Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw actually played decently well at the Euros, but I still can't understand why he was choosing ahead of Ben Chilwell. Aaron Criswell is a bit more. Aaron Criswell can play. If you are playing 3 at the back, he can play among those 3 center backs. He can play as a wing back. And if you look at his production, he hardly makes mistakes. And his deliveries up front are always on top
notch.
Top notch. I think the only reason why is just, I think it happens probably virtually to in most teams. They will just look at Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, I'm not sure Michael Carrick had up to 20 caps for England. That's very criminal. I just believe he's just been overlooked because he's playing for West Ham. For me, that is just that. Luke Shaw is ahead of him because he's playing for Manchester United. In terms of what he could do, deliveries, position, defensively, attacking wise, Aaron Criswell for me, talent wise, is ahead of the 2.
Better of the 2. All right, perfect. That I agree with you. I agree with you because I just feel maybe if Ben Chilwell stayed at Leicester City, he will be overlooked as well, or it will be in the same boat as Aaron. And to the
elephant in the room. Is it elephant in the room?
Yeah, to the climax of the weekend. My God, my word. How do I even say this? Mo Salah has scored 106 goals in 167 games for Liverpool in the league. Highest goal scoring African in the history of the Premier League. Don't forget the Drogba paid over 283 games for Chelsea in the league and scored 104 goals. We can't stop this guy. This guy seems is a ridiculous player, if you ask me. He is a ridiculous player. And it took United to the slaughterhouse again. To the slaughterhouse again, and making him the first player to score an hat-trick against United at Old Trafford. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer it looks like Mikel Arteta of last season or early this season, just keeps breaking the bad records over and over and over and over and over again. Liverpool came out all gun blazing. United were not bad in the first 15 minutes, but after the first 15 minutes, the story just changed emphatically. And don't forget, I wish, I told Kachi behind closed doors that I wish Liverpool had scored like 8 goals against United, so that 8-2 would be cancelled for us now. At least we'll have someone that
you are sleeping.
But realistically,
the book of Manchester.
Yeah, but realistically, Olale, what's the way forward for United right now? In the interim, because we don't know. It doesn't look like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be gone anytime soon. So in the interim, how do we even fix it? Because Olale, Arsene came out with a playbook for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on Friday, a playbook of how to play against Liverpool. And I can guarantee you that if he has stuck with that playbook, it would have been a whitewash like this.
Please, can you give me just one of the things that Sevenga actually said? Please. Sorry, I missed that. Just please, before I answer it.
As I said, it needs to. There should not be a disjoint between the back four or the screen behind the back four and the attacking players.
Good. Now,
and how the full backs were going to neutralize the two wing backs of Liverpool.
Good.
And we did not see that.
Now, let me just start. When Liverpool struggled last season, there were two things. Their wing backs were, even though they were, I think, what do you call it? Van Dijk injury actually disrupted the whole team. They had to bring some of their central midfielders back today. But we know that the lack of form from Alexander-Arnold and Robertson actually affected the way they play, because the season they won the league, majority of their assists comes from their fullbacks,
those guys. Yeah.
From those guys. So we always know that that's where their threat comes from. And from what Arsene Wenger said, I think what actually happened, I've always been consistent about this. Results matters on the long run, but performance matters on the short run. Even when United were winning, even last season, I think I've been consistent about this. It's not about the way the result are. Even when United have won, I've always expressed my worry about the way the team is structured. It's more of an individual brilliance rather than you can hardly see the imprint of the coach in the way they play. Mm-hmm. Now, I think Ole shot himself on the leg going into this game. I think Ole tried to do something his team has not been comfortable doing. Ole wants to be on the front foot. I think he doesn't want to be seen against Liverpool defending, which could have probably be good for him. Some of us might not like him, but that you have to give Mourinho the kudos for that. He sticks to something that works for him. United wanted to press Liverpool high, but when you are pressing, you have to press as a team. If one person, like Carragher said, it's like a trigger. Everybody have to be on the same page. But how many of those United players are willing to press? How many of them are willing to run? Most of them don't. Bruno doesn't do it enough. He does that as early part of his career in United. I don't know why he doesn't do that. Ronaldo will not do pressing. And by the time your attackers press and your central midfielder doesn't follow suit, it creates a gap in the middle of the park. And these are technically gifted players. If you look at the first goal, they were deleting the United players one after the other because the team, they didn't press as a team. There was too much gap in between the attacker and the midfield, and the midfield and the defenders. The moment somebody goes, there is a space. They keep deleting them up to the point that they drag Lindelof to the right side, leaving Maguire alone as the what do you call it? The center back. Before you even know it, Luke Shaw was all over the place, and immediately they were one goal behind. They lost the whole plot. They lost it because United under Ole, when they play against some these big teams, they always score first. That has always been their thing. When they score first, they sit back. I think he did what his team is not usually used to, and what they've not actually. It's not like their culture. Something you have to give Pep Guardiola kudos for is passing out from the back. Even when they concede goal, trying to pass out from the back, he tries to avoid blaming those players because that is what he believes they are doing. So immediately they lost that first goal. They were just all over the place. And today shows why United have not buyed well. You could just see Wan-Bissaka was just all over the place. Shaw is not, for all the resurrection about his career, is not just up to it. Maguire is not just a 70 million pound defender. And the coach imprint is not on the team. They were just, for all the noise about the balance in the team, He has to use. You have to play McTominay and what do you call it, Fred.
Fred.
Just take a look. Just take a look at the Liverpool midfield. You have Henderson. You have Keita.
And James Milner.
Tell me, what is so exceptional about that midfield? It's about the way the team plays. Look at City. When you play Bernardo Silva, Godigan, and what do you call it, Rodri. Outside Rodri, those other two guys are not natural ball markers. So it's but going back to the question you asked, I don't know what the solution is on the short run. I don't know. Probably they need to go back to their low block defense, trying to rely on individual brilliance of Ronaldo and a couple of guys, winning games by 1-0 or something like that. Because the United is too easy to play against. That is one problem. If you are not pressing as a team, you are not blocking the passing channels. If you can't do those two, then how do you prevent opponents from getting at you? So they are too easy to play against. That's their major problem. And Ole is not going anywhere. Let me just tell you guys, nobody will sack Ole. Ole will only lose his job until it is mathematically impossible for United to make the Champions League. The people that runs United runs it from a business point of view. What matters to them is the compensation they will pay to Ole now. Until it becomes the only way the chief executive can justify sacking Ole now is because it's costing us money. We can't make the Champions League.
All right,
whether they will bow to the pressure of some of the players, because informations we are gathering is that some players are not really too confident in him. But Ole will be here for a long period. I think by the time, if you could get 1 or 2 decent results, probably from Tottenham this thing, everybody will forget all this one. He will still finish fourth. It's there for a number of time. I don't think it's going, but it all just shows.
Okay, Alali, let me direct the same question. Yeah, Kachi, let me direct the same question to you. What should United do in the long run? In the short run? In the short run.
The short run, United should accept. They should tell themselves the truth and accept the fact that Ole is not good enough. It's better you stem the bleeding now than wait until it is mathematically late to qualify for the Champions League. As bad as United has been, the teams below them have been way inconsistent, which means that fourth position is still very likely theirs to take and win. Ole has shown that he cannot manage a team as big as Man United. I guess it was too big a jump moving from wherever he moved from to United. Tactically, it was inept. You definitely cannot point out any game to say this is how Ole plays. There's no game. He's been there close, going to 3 years now, and you can't say this is the marquee game that tells you how Ole wants to play. Even in Klopp's first season when they lost the Europa Cup, you could see where he was
going. Where he's going.
You could see that, I'm just missing 1 or 2 players in key positions, and this thing will be set. We are not seeing that with Ole right now. I don't think we'll even see it. I saw the looks of players on the bench, and they just pan to them, and there's nobody buying into that philosophy right now. So I personally think they should stem this hemorrhage by letting Ole go. The issue now is how desperate are United to go for somebody that will tell them the truth, even if the truth will cost a lot of money. When I say that, I'm talking of Antonio Conte, who really would not care or is not bound by the shadow of Sir Alex Ferguson. Right now, it looks like Ole is only enjoying the blessing of Sir Alex. The day Sir Alex Ferguson says,
Kachi, everything about Ole is actually vibes. It's about a few good factor. He says the right thing.
Okay.
From a decent family.
So Kachi, for you, what you're saying is we should stop the hemorrhage and Ole should go. What Olawale is saying right now, there's no idea. Maybe we should bring Sir Ferguson back.
Let's remember that Olawale is a Kane fan, and there will be a lot of sentiments in it. If he can take himself away from it, he will let you know that right now Ole needs to go.
Kachi.
Olawale is not saying
I'm not
Olale
saying
is
Ole
not
shouldn't
saying
go.
Ole should not
But
go.
I'm just being practical
Olale, hold on.
about
Olale, hold
what
on.
the owners will do.
Olale, hold on. What Olale is just trying to tell us that this is what the owners will do, that they will not change until it's possible for them to make money, because it is about money. And of course, from there we'll move to Spain. Well, we have not so much of a Clásico. A Clásico means classic, but we don't have these again in Spain. Real Madrid, courtesy of David Alaba and Lucas Vázquez, defeated Barcelona as expected. 2-1. Barcelona got a consolatory goal at 97th minute. Uh, we don't know. Whatever. I'll leave Barcelona to it. They can continue with their problem while Real Madrid enjoys the top of the league for the meantime. And of course, Atletico Madrid braced to we're down 2-0 before Luis Suarez came back to score a penalty and a well-taken goal to draw the game 2-2 against Real Sociedad for them. Don't forget the young boy Isaac is doing wonders, provided an assist and scored a goal as well. Sevilla, for all their exploits, 4-1 by the 65th minute, managed to win in the long run, 5-3 against Levante. Bologna lost at home against Milan as Zlatan scoring the first own goal of his career. Kachi, quickly.
Milan almost blew that game. They raced a quick 2-0 lead against a 10-man team. Bologna, credit to them, at the start of the second half, came out with more purpose. It looks like Milan took their foot off the pedal. They scored 2 quick goals to equalize, one of them being an own goal from Zlatan. And then they went down to 9 men. But in spite of that, Milan actually did not burst things, even playing against 9 men. 2 well-taken goals saved their blushes. But beyond the results, I think it's, and you will get to it, what makes it a bit better beyond the results is what happened across the league with the other major contenders. The inexperience, and I think when Milan comes out of that Champions League group stage and they are no longer distracted by it, they can put all their energy into making this a championship run. Let's see what can happen. But in this case, you take any win, as you say, it's 3 points that count, and they got the 3 points.
Yeah, you're getting lucky. Last week you were lucky. This week you were lucky.
I'll take my luck any day. Right?
Yeah. All right, perfect. The luck it's like boys men water runs dry. And of course, Marosari lost against Verona 4-1. The Verona that Kachi claims is not so good. And of course, Inter Milan drew 1-1 against Juventus thanks to Pablo Dybala, late equalizer. Roma and Napoli drew 0-0. Victor Osimhen could not save Napoli this time around. 0-0 with both coaches getting their matching orders. And of course, Dele Ali posted the daughter of Pep Guardiola on the group chat, and that's got him some kind of suspension from the sports team for the time being. And that's the wrap, and that's the show. Thank you very much, guys, for staying tuned with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Give us your feedback, give us comments, send us tweet at us, give us your comment on Instagram. It's still New Sister Star on Instagram, New Sister One on Twitter, and of course, New Sister Sport on YouTube. Kachi, want to say something to round up for tonight?
Ole at the wheel, ole at the wheel, ole at the wheel.
Ole at the wheel.
Kachi, let me tell you something about Ole.
Kachi, let me tell you